Have you been to some of those big box stores or your local nursery and try to purchase soil only to be confused by all the different types that there are? Well, some are more expensive than others, and the soil is for flower and vegetable gardens, or some for tree and shrubs, garden soil, raised bed soil, and many others. Well, today I'm going to break it down for you, and I'm going to show you what you're going to get in each of these bags and a real simple way to break down the cost of each bag. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can save 10% and get big discounts on your bagged soil at the big box stores. You're in the garden with Patrick. So I don't want you to overthink things, okay? The main thing is when you're purchasing a bag of soil, I don't want you to just look at the price of the soil, because sometimes the soil may be different quality for less expensive, or it may be a less expensive bag, but you're not getting as much in the bag as far as cubic feet is concerned. So most importantly, first we're going to look at the quality of the soil that we're looking at today in these 4 samples that I have. And we're going to look at the differences between garden soil and your regular soil, and then your raised bed mix, and see what the differences are and the cost differences also. So the first distinction that I want to make is that we're going to discuss garden soil or raised bed soil today. That's what you're going to find in these bags here, and that's what's going to go in your raised bed garden. We're not talking about container gardens. We're not talking about like potting soil, that type of thing. We're talking about the soil that's going to go directly into your raised bed. I have another video on container gardening and how to actually make your own soil for your containers or your pots in another video, and I'll link that in the description below. So the first thing I want you to notice is just the size of the bags. First of all, we have 1.5 cubic feet of the Omni seed cover and planting and compost. The garden soil here is 1.5 cubic feet. We have 1 cubic foot of this flower and vegetable garden from Stay Green, and we also have Miracle Grow raised bed soil, which is 1.5 cubic feet. So that's one thing. It's easy when you have 1.5 and you're comparing 1.5, but what about this soil here that's only 1 cubic foot? It might be less expensive, but it may be per cost of each cubic foot more expensive than you are paying for these other bags. So first of all, let's talk about the most important thing, which is what are you purchasing in these bags? Then we'll get into the price differences and stuff too. So we're going to look at the quality of these soils first, but really, what's the difference between raised bed soil, garden soil? We got those two here in the middle, and then we have a seed cover and planting compost. When you look at, first of all, the most important thing is your garden soil is pretty much just your dirt. It's just earth that is put into a bag. In some instances, for example, in this Miracle Grow and also in this Stay Green, they both have fertilizer added. So that's a positive in the sense that it has some type of nutritional value for your plants. So you don't have to really add anything to the garden soil. So looking here at if it has fertilizer in there. And so that's the first most important thing. And all of these 3 here, the garden soil, the 2 garden soils, and then a raised bed soil, they all have some type of fertilizer. So let's take a look at the back of each one of these first. First, most important is the garden soils and the raised bed soils. They're all going to tell you exactly the same thing as far as the directions of how to use this. You're going to spread about 2 to 3 inches of the product onto your existing bed, and then what you'll do is you're going to mix that into the top 6 to 8 inches of your soil. So all of them will be the same in that respect. Now what we're looking at specifically is the ingredients on what makes each of these. So the ingredients for your Miracle Grow garden soil, okay, this is an all-purpose one. It does say it has peat moss, processed forest products, core, and or compost, and then it also the sphagnum peat moss fertilizer and a wetting agent. So again, we don't know what that is exactly, but again, basically this is a peat product with some forest products, which is essentially broken down wood products that are composted. Okay, and this does again have some fertilizer that is in the mix. So this particular one, it will have 0.09% nitrogen. The phosphate is 0.05%, and the potash or the K is 0.07%. So again, that's not a whole lot of fertilizer in this particular product, and you may be paying for a product that has the fertilizer in it that may not have a lot. So the same thing on this Stay Green. We're going to look at the same thing. It's going to have essentially the same amount of fertilizer percentages, although this one is actually a little bit less. Again, what's the difference between 0.03 and 0.07? Not a whole heck of a lot. So again, the same ingredients will be here. So it's going to tell you that it's derived from peat, recycled forest products, and the sphagnum peat moss. It has perlite in it, ground dolomite limestone, and that adjusts the pH. And the reason that's important is because the pH is more acidic in your peat moss, so it will change the acidity with the more peat moss that you have in there. So the limestone will help to raise that. And again, this also has a wetting agent, which is typically something along the lines of a perlite or something along those lines. So now we go to the Miracle-Gro raised bed soil, and again, same concept. The ingredients, this one is a little different. It does say that it does have peat moss. It has forest products, which again are your broken down wood products. It has the sphagnum peat moss and cocoa coir. It also has poultry litter, alfalfa meal, bone meal, kelp meal, and earthworm castings. So again, if you want to talk about the quality of the three here, what has the most as far as, you know, different ingredients, it would be here, this raised bed soil. Your raised bed soil is going to give you a little bit more idea of different nutrients that are going to be put in there in addition to your regular fertilizer. So again, those are good. So this one, again, the difference is it has the NPK is 0 or 0.09, 0.08, and then 0.09 again. And then it also does have some calcium. It also will tell you, again, the ingredients there. You can see alfalfa meal. It has worm castings, kelp meal. So this is, you know, as far as just on the surface, this Miracle-Gro raised bed soil mix is a little bit more in there. But again, is that really worth it to pay the difference? So we're going to look at the cost difference here in just a second. But let's look at the quality of the soil first. We're going to pull a little bit out of each one. And we have our inspector here. She's looking at everything, making sure that everything is properly planted. Not really, we haven't planted our spring garden yet, but she is our quality inspector. And so we're going to take a look at all of these, and we're going to also look at the peat moss and see what type of quality this has. All right, so what I've done is I've taken a little bit of soil out of each of these bags, and we're going to take a look a little closer at the quality of these soils. All right, so take a look at this Miracle-Gro raised bed soil. Remember, this is the one that had the different ingredients that had worm castings and some other different ingredients. And it looks like it's a very, very good quality soil. And again, there are some pieces of wood that are in there that will be breaking down. But again, from the standpoint of the fineness of this, you can see the peat moss in there a little bit. That's really a good soil. So moving on to the Stay Green flower and vegetable garden soil. So again, you can see this one. It does have similar quality as far as the amount of little pieces of wood that are broken down. And you can see in this one there is some perlite, that's these little white dots, versus the other one did not have any of that. So Again, not a bad quality. It does have, you can see this little green, that's some of the fertilizer that they added to this product. So again, not bad. If we want to compare the price here in just a little bit. So here's our Miracle-Gro garden soil. This is the one that also has a fertilizer in it. So essentially the two, Stay Green and the Miracle-Gro, have both similar qualities, okay, versus the raised bed mix. So again, you can see this one does have a little bit finer materials in here, and that's going to be more of your peat moss. So again, similar quality to compare to the other ones. This is a little bit more peat moss oriented, it looks like, just based on the amount of the color of the soil also. And now we come to the Omni seed cover and the planting compost, which again is not exactly similar to what we're talking about here with the garden soil, but again, because it does have flower and vegetables on it, you can definitely put that in your garden and use this as an amendment because it does have the compost. But as you can tell in this particular one, it does have a lot more larger pieces of the wood, and some of it that's not broken down yet. But again, some of the larger pieces of wood, the quality of this, again, not bad. You can see it's a little darker, which is going to be your compost probably. And it does look pretty good as far as the quality of this soil. So now the last that we're looking at here is, this is just straight peat moss, okay? This is going to be your base for most of your soil mixes. And again, I'll put a link below on the container mix that I make. And you can make your own container mix for a fraction of the cost. So I'll put a link below on that video that I did. But essentially, this is just the peat moss, the sphagnum peat moss. Now, if you don't feel comfortable using the peat moss, you can also use coco coir, okay? And there's some controversy about these things. We'll talk about that in another video. But this is essentially your basic product from most of these soils, which is peat moss, and then they add other things. So if you take a look at the three, okay, the three essential that are the same, the vegetable garden soils and the raised bed mix, there's really not a huge difference. Again, we'll go over them this way here. So that's the garden soil from Miracle-Gro that has the fertilizer added. This is the Stay Green flower and vegetable garden soil, and then this is the raised bed soil. So now let's take a look at all of these together, and we'll look at the cost of each bag and let you decide which one you feel is worth the money to pay for to add to your raised bed garden. All right, so hang with me here for just a minute. We're going to do a little math, okay? So what we want to try to do is we want to try to break down some of these bags into a unit price. So for the most part, they're going to talk about cubic feet in most of the bags. Now, if you live in another part of the world, you're going to be using a different metric system. So just kind of keep that in mind. But for here, for the United States and us that are using the imperial system, this is how we're going to break it down pretty easily, okay? The most important thing is that you want to break down each of the bags as far as whether you're getting a good deal or not. Number one, want to pay attention to, are you getting something added to the soil in the bag? So for example, the bags that we reviewed today, they do have a fertilizer inside them. So that's going to be one cost, or an upgrade, if you will, that you're going to be paying for with that. Now, when we looked at the breakdown of how much of that is in the soil, it's really not a large amount. So you may not want to pay for that. You can buy a very inexpensive bag of the regular fertilizer, and you can use that and put that in your garden soil and mix it up. Again, I'll put a link below in a description on how we make container mix and how we add those fertilizers. But again, you can do the same thing with your raised bed garden over here by putting in the soil, your just regular soil, and then you can add your fertilizers. Your granular fertilizers is what you're really going to want to do. So again, I also recommend that before you do anything, that you do test your soil take a soil sample. You can go to your local extension and get that taken. I also have a link below that I have an affiliate link with the soil testing kit that I use, and I really like it, and it gives us a good reading of what we're looking for. Again, I'll put a link below for that actual video, plus if you're interested in purchasing that particular kit, if you could use that affiliate link, that helps out building the channel. So let's take a look at the cost breakdown. Okay, so this is very important. Again, in most cases, you're going to have on the actual price, you can see here that there is the cost of the bag, and then it'll give you a unit price. Most of the time, these stores are going to have that. So the big box stores usually will have that. But what happens when you don't have that? Or again, like for example, if because you can buy soil off the internet too. So a lot of times you can get it with free shipping and that kind of thing. So it's not really that much of a cost. So take a look at how much it costs per unit. So we're going to use, in this case, we're going to be looking at specifically the cubic feet cost per cubic feet, which is what I see here on my Lowe's price here. Okay, so that's an easy way to figure out which one is less expensive based on the unit price. But what happens if we do something where it says it's quarts? And it'll say cubic feet on one bag, and then the other one it'll say dry quarts. How do we compare the two? Because really the quarts and the cubic feet, you know, again, figure that out. I don't know. So I'm going to give you a really, really simple way of converting all of this so that you can make it as simple as possible when they don't break it down for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break down the cubic foot of soil equals 25.71 quarts. Okay, so that's the first most important thing, is we have in 1 cubic foot, so this bag here is 1 cubic foot, and it's going to be 25.71 quarts. Now, again, in other countries, you're going to maybe have a different conversion, okay? So, but you want to break it down to whatever you're using, and that will be helpful. Now, let's look at the cost per unit, and then you're going to see really what you're getting inside the bag. So, again, first most important, when we looked at the quality of all of these, essentially there was a big difference in the raised bed garden soil than the other ones, but again, is it worth it? So let's take a look. Okay, so in our first example, the yellow bag Stay Green flower and garden soil. It's all the same. It cost me here in my local Lowe's, it cost $4.48 for that 1 cubic foot bag. Now we're going to convert that cubic foot to quarts. So we're going to take 1 cubic foot. Remember, is 25.71 quarts. Okay, so we're going to multiply the cubic feet, 1 cubic foot, by our standard conversion, okay, which is the 25.71 quarts. So stay with me. Okay, so we're going to divide the cost of the bag by the number of quarts. So $4.48 for our bag divided by 25.71 is equal to about 17 cents a quart. Okay, so keep that number in mind. So this bag costs 17 cents a quart. Now, let's look at the additives. This one does have some fertilizers. So that's okay, because we may not have to add a fertilizer into our mix. Okay, if it's just garden soil with no fertilizers, no additives, then we would definitely want to add some type of a fertilizer in there for the growth. Okay, now let's look at example number 2. Example number 2 is our Miracle-Gro Performance Organics All-Purpose In-Ground Soil. Okay, we didn't review that today, but again, just as an example. Okay, now this is why it's important, because this particular bag, as you see here, is 1.3 cubic feet, and it costs $10.98 for that bag. So 1.3 cubic feet versus you look at the 1 cubic foot of the other product that we purchased, and you might say, you know, one's $4.48. The organic performance from Miracle-Gro is $10.98. That's for $10.98 for 1.3 cubic feet. Now, same thing, you could look, and it's pretty simple math anyway, because 1 cubic foot and 0.3 is not a whole lot, and it's you know, like $7, $6 more almost. So, but we're going to still convert the cubic feet into quarts. 1 cubic foot is 25.71. Remember, we're going to multiply the cubic feet by our standard conversion. 1.3 times the 25.71 is 33.4 quarts in that bag. So we're going to take 33.4 quarts, we're going to divide that by the cost of the bag, which we remember was $10.98, and it comes out to 33 cents for a quart. So our first bag came out to 17 cents a quart. This other bag is 33 cents a quart. So is that extra money worth what you're looking at? Now, when you're looking at the word organics, again, remember, marketing is marketing. So they're going to market a lot of different things. They're going to put different colors and all kinds of things. The bottom line is what are you paying for that soil? Okay, and essentially we looked at the ingredients earlier in the video. All of the videos, all the bags have essentially the same ingredients. They have peat moss, they have some type of a broken down forest product, which is usually your wood products and that type of thing, and you know, maybe again some fertilizer added, or in one of our cases it had some compost in it. Okay, and last example, bear with me, is the Miracle-Gro all-purpose garden soil, which we reviewed back here today. That again, this particular bag, remember, was 1.5, but there is a bag that I'm showing you right now that I saw at the store, because maybe you don't need a whole lot. It's 0.75 cubic feet. Now that one was $4.75. So you may just go looking at the prices of things and you think, oh, $4.57, that's a good deal. Well, you're only getting 0.75 cubic feet. Now, what is that per our conversion? Again, we're going to take the 1 cubic foot times 20 is equal to 25.71 quarts. Multiply that, 0.75 cubic feet times the 25.71 quarts, and we're going to come up with 19.3 quarts in that small bag. We're going to divide that number, so $4.75 divided by the 19 quarts comes out to 19 cents a quart. So that is very similar to our first example, which we had 17 cents a quart. So which is a better deal? Well, if you don't need as much, then it's essentially, you know, a little bit of difference in price, but there's really not a huge difference. But you are getting less quarts with this 0.75 cubic feet. So that's how you can do that. Now, again, you can compare that to looking at a bag that says, you know, cubic feet versus another bag that says quarts, dry quarts, as we mentioned. So keep that in mind. Now, again, the same thing. I drove by my local Walmart and I saw a clearance, $6 for a bag of Beyond Peat Professional Organics garden soil. So this one was 2 cubic feet and it was $6. So you're thinking, hey, $3, you know, it's simple math in that one, 2 cubic feet for $6. It's you know, $3 for a cubic foot, so not bad. But let's go back into quarts real quick. We're going to take that 1 cubic foot, which is 25.71. We're going to, and in this case we have 2 cubic feet, so we're going to take 2 times the 25, and that gives us 51.42 quarts, okay, in that bag. We're going to take that, divide that by $6, and we're coming up with 12 cents. So 12 cents a quart for that particular bag that I found at Walmart for $6. So 12 cents is a heck of a lot better. Now, we already talked about the quality of most of these products. So is the 12 cents a quart, the $6 for that 2 cubic feet, is that a better deal than paying a little bit extra for a different one? That's something that you have to decide what's in your budget. If you have a large garden that you're trying to fill, then you know you might not want to buy the more expensive bag, because that's going to cost you a heck of a lot more. So take some simple tips that we've given today, basic soil, the garden soils, the raised bed soils, all the things that the different names, the different marketing, and what you're going to do is they're all essentially the same. Although again, my opinion, that raised bed garden mix was a little bit better, but it was a little bit more expensive. And you're going to take all of that. You can add some soil just as a bed and dig the top maybe 6 to 8 inches and include that 3 inches or so of this garden soil that you're going to be putting into your garden bed. You can throw some granular fertilizer on there, and you have a really, really good mix of soil for your garden when you're going to be doing the gardening this year. So planting your plants in good soil, which is again essential. You want to make sure your pH is good, and you want to make sure you have the right proper nutrients in your soil. So, and as you can tell, my little Luna, she's inspecting everything. So don't worry, I don't have anything planted in there yet. And actually, when she doesn't go in there when I do have my plants in there. So, but she is inspecting for us. So she's our quality inspector. So now, last thing, if you want to take a look at, again, amending soil, if you don't need to add any garden soil or anything like that, worm castings are great. You can add some manure. You can add your own compost. I'll put a link below in how I make my own compost. But again, even if you purchase the compost in a bag, it's great. But you do want to add compost to your soil because that helps with the natural organic things that are going to be good for your soil. And again, like I said, I highly recommend adding some worm castings to your garden bed. Thanks for watching and staying to the end. Now comes the bonus tip. Okay, so the bonus that I love to do every time I go to the store, the big box store specifically, is you're going to find some bags that already have tears in them. And again, I don't recommend that you go and open up a bag and tear it, but somebody else has either done that already for you. And when you go and look in these big box stores, all the bags have a tear in them. If you purchase that bag, most of the time there's just a little bit of the soil that's missing. Purchase the bag. It'll either have the bag torn and you can just take it that way, or some of the bags will, the plastic bags will have another clear plastic bag over it. And what you're going to do with that, you're going to purchase that, okay? You're going to, when you go to the register, you just ask for 10%. Well, they're going to give you 10%. I shouldn't say that. You ask for a discount because the bag is open, and they'll usually give you a 10% discount on that bag. So that's a great way to save 10% on a bag of garden soil. And again, I just bought 4 bags right now at my big box store, and I saved 10%, probably a good $8 to $10 on my soil that I purchased for the spring so far. So that's a good money saving tip for you. So I hope you learned something today. If you did, click the like button and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button and you'll get more content like this. Usually I put them out every week, and we'll try to get as much content as I can. And if you have anything in specific that you like to use or you like to do in your raised bed garden, put a comment in the comment box below. I'll have all the description of all the videos that I've talked about in the description box below. But please leave me a comment and let me know what you think of the video and what you're using in your garden. Until next time, happy gardening.